Yeah, venerables, my friends, we are going to have a Dhamma talk for another 1 hour. May everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent with sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Piti sambojjhangam ko bhikkhave bhaveta viveka nissitang viraga nissitang nirodha nissitang vassagga parinaminti. Here, venerables, Dhamma friends, we have taken the subject or topic of the 7 factors of enlightenment, or Satta Bojjhanga in Pali, as the topic for this retreat. And so far, we have covered Sati Sambojjhanga, Dhammavichaya Sambojjhanga, and Virya Sambojjhanga as the today morning Dhamma talk. Accordingly, we have to now go to the Piti Sambojjhanga. That means once you develop fair amount of mindfulness or awareness, then it is leading to Dhammavichaya, investigation aspect of Dhamma. Sharply you can investigate the Dhamma, that means the universal law. And that is the way, that is how you develop the energy aspect. Otherwise, your energy is diversified. There's a split mind. So therefore, very difficult to have a steadfast aim or clarity in our life. That means our internal abilities are fighting each other, so that very difficult to have a drive. So Dhammavichaya is clearly helping you to maintain the power line, so that power transmission can happen. That is the point where you sometimes go beyond the human capacity, and superhuman layers you can touch it. Otherwise we are utterly messed up in the worldly affairs, internal and external affairs, past and the future, other people, other places. Hardly you can be mindful on here, now, I am. It's a very sharp point whereby your vigilance and diligence is basically here, now, I am. So we can say from the meditation jargon, here, now, I am sitting. I know I am sitting. And that very knowledge occasionally or frequently coming and going, we have no much appreciation for that, because it won't give any gain, fame or anything. But whenever you try to be mindful, you just not be here and now, but you are awakening into that. You are appreciating that. That appreciation makes the galvanizing effect, the reinforcement effect, and that the particular person can understand, not that I am here and now, but I have kind of a rapture, I have a happiness, I have a awakening. So that aspect of mindfulness is make the matter more positive, more creative, and therefore whenever the energy aspect come into being, there's a consequence of rapture. That rapture is basically due to awareness and appreciation and awakening into the present moment. So therefore that is a very, very personal thing. Not only you be mindful, you are verifying it, verily you know. That is the most important thing. To be mindful, you are already endowed with as a human being. In the human brain, occasionally it comes into the present moment. But appreciation happens because of your the dispensation and your endeavorance to be a spiritual person, meditator. That appreciation is the most important thing. So therefore they are happening as a consequences. So not only you must be good, it must appear good. Otherwise you won't get benefits. So that mindfulness is what mindfulness doing is appreciation, the same thing. So whenever you are appreciating the here now I am sitting. So you have your own verifying, the way of verifying, how do you know you are sitting? So we can say what are the touching point to the ground, or we can say I am not standing, I am not lying down, I am not walking, I am sitting. So that very understanding is always supported by then and there experience. Or when you are sitting, still you can be aware upon the touch of the sitting, you can be aware of the in-breath and out-breath. That's also witnessing. You are not dead, you are not sleeping, you are not unconscious, so you are not mindful. You know, this is in-breath. And whenever you know this is at in-breath, it's a promotion, it's a catalyzing the mindfulness. And when and where you be here and you aware of it. You are awakening into that. And then there's a reason for the rapture to arise. Even if you are here now, but if you are not appreciating, that very aspect of rapture may not happen. So that is how you are promoting, that is how you are adverting your mind to the present moment. And then this very appreciation, even it happened for split second, mind moment, it won't make a big difference. For you to understand, for that very mind to understand, I am mindful. Some traditional masters, meditation masters says, you must be consecutively 4 thought moments continuously be mindful, then only you can be reflect back and say, for the last few thought moments I was mindful. One split second of mindfulness cannot be verified from that very split second of thought moment. So therefore, continuation, the momentum, the acceleration, the speed is very important. So when and where we come to a meditation center and get the basic instructions about how to be mindful in sitting or how to be mindful in walking, we may try. It's a luck by chance. And occasionally you hit the target, but it won't stay for a longer time. You become mindful. Before and after thought moments are unmindful thought moments. That means one thought moment of mindfulness surrounded by 2 unmindful thought moments, for example. So it won't give any rapture, it won't give any appreciation, it won't give any verification. That you have to understand, that's the way it is starting. And then teachers and meditation center is encouraging you, just be for split second, indicate your potential, your possibility. But for you to verify it, you must make it continuous. One thought moment, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, like the consecutive momentum, the continuity. Give a chance for that very particular person to, for that very particular mind to reflect back and see there's a change for the last few thought moments, because it is not the past and the future. It is not about the other people or other place. It was here and now. So that is how our mind get acclimatized, our mind get used to be in the present moment. And that very present moment, you can verify, you can testify in number of ways. Most of the verification methods are negative. So to say, it is not the past, it is not the future, it is not the other people, it is not the other place, but here, now I am. And that, even though it is negative, it is null hypothesis is rejected. Then meditation masters helping you telling that very thought moment is completely pure, is without any unwholesome states. So therefore, we have been so much in aeons of aeon after aeon, filled with unwholesome states. So that unwholesome state or wholesome thought moment appear like something strange. It appear like something abnormal. So therefore you have to have a mindset. You have to have a prepared mind, even though we have not disciplined well, even though we have been unmindful, our mind is full of other things, the potential is there, the possibility is there. So you have to have effort, to have a correct methodology, correct way of adverting of the mind, correct way of avenuing the mind. And then, even if it is happening, in the first place, our rational mind will not appreciate it as something, appreciate as an achievement. So therefore, while you are practicing, you have to listen to the Dhamma. You have to be with other co-practitioners and give a try. While keep on practicing only, you can understand, now only you are verifying your possibility, your potential. Not only you have the possibility and potential, if your power line is straightened, power transmission will happen, you feel it. Feel it, not past, not future, not other people, not other place, here, now I am. And that thought moment, as I already mentioned, is pure. So we, in our Satipasala, mindful school, right from the beginning, we had the interfaith and people from the different religions and different languages and different countries coming, and we invite them to be. And after giving guided meditation, for example, 10-15 minutes, I invite them to see within that 15 minutes how many thought moments you experience here, now I am. So if someone can positively remember, that is the mindset that our religious masters, for example, the Buddha or Jesus or Brahma or Muslim, Allah or Auramadas wanted to share with us. Because in that very thought moment, we are exactly the same with enlightened mind. And if that potential or possibility is being proved or verified, then onward, the task is up to you. Now the potential is being shown. The possibility is being testified. Now adjust yourself. Have a sequence of mindful thought moments as long as possible or as frequent as possible. So this is how you are appreciating your already verified thought moment and continuity. So therefore that you have common sense. For that you have to assimilate ways and means within our so much of busy life, so much of responsibilities, so much things to achieve, but no response to anything is inviting you to be here and now. It's always eccentric. So at the death end, they won't come and work in rescue for you. But this thought moment where you practice mindfulness, and if you can be aware the purity of it, and more you practice, more it becomes verifiable, more it becomes tangible, increasing. So therefore you have to have your common sense, but have your ways and means to increase it. So therefore two things. One thing is prove to you that your possibility and potential, whatever the mistakes you have done in your life, cannot be covered. That your potential is still there. The possibility is there. So you can't say that particular person cannot be mindful, that particular person cannot be verified. No, there is no such a authority. Anyone can do. Those who give a try can verify. So it's a very great thing in the human mind. And many religious masters or founders, they wanted to let the people entertain it, because in this defiled world, there are some small islands whereby you can have dry land, you can be mindful, and if you are sharp enough, you can understand that is not blocked by your past deeds. That is just to give a glimpse. That's to give a glimpse. So this is the first important thing. And the second thing is, if you appreciate it, you have to adjust your way of life. You have to adjust your verbal behavior and the physical behavior and the livelihood. So that's an open issue. That's why centers like these things are happening in the world. Those who have that kind of attitude, they get together, relinquish household life, and come here. When come here, we can see there are some other people also. They also have the same interest. And then we have a set timetable. We have a set way of living. And you are given all the facilities, I mean, not the luxurious facilities, but the basic needs, and give you as much as possible time, space, everything to practice it. So in Buddhism itself, 2,600 years, that tradition has been maintained. Occasionally they become popular, sometimes they are not, but still that the spark is there. So last for 30, 40 years, it is now emerging. Mindfulness is emerging because so much of tension, so much of frustration, so much of global warming, so much of pollutions happen. Some people completely desperate, they say there's no way out. They can't see any silver line in this dark cloud. But the mindfulness, you can't stop it. You can't cover it. And if you also become a one-man army, and even 1 split second of mindfulness, you are answering these impossibilities. And that is the way, the very first benefit the Buddha declared when they tried to explain in the very first day, the purification of the being. But wherever you are, whatever the way of life you had, you can purify yourself. It is not belongs to someone. Your brain is not a hardwired circuit. You have the plasticity. You can start now. You can continue. Or you are never too late. So therefore the rapture, the aspect that we are going to take today, is an indication whether you are doing this whole task of celibate life or meditative life happily or not. There are 2 methods. One can practice it in the so much of hardships and emancipation and sometimes torturing your way of life. For some other people, practice is very happily, knowing this is the thing we have to do and that is the mindset I must have. That's the way the positive thinking should happen. So therefore, more you practice, you learn the art, how to put that in a positive way. Simply put, in the Dhammapada, many of you have opened the book, the starting point is Mano Pubbangama Dhamma, Mano Settha, Manomaya. All the phenomena, mind is the first. Mind is the forerunner. And that is the most important. And everything is mind-made. Everything depends upon your mindset. Everything depends upon your viewpoint, the way you look at it. Manasache pasannena bhasativa karotiva. And if you are facing the life, facing the meditative life, facing the mindfulness with rapture, then you are ending up with a happy life. You are doing things in a happy way. Oh, as I tried to mention in the last talk also, in the Pollyanna, a simple novel, it says, you must try to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances. So then your life becomes very aesthetic. Your life becomes very poetic. You are living, but you know how to put it in a positive way. And the same thing, Mano Pubbangama Dhamma, Mano Settha Manomaya, Manasache Paduttena. If you are reacting, if you are aggressive, and if you look at it in a negative way, Bhasativa Karotua, with that negative or with hateful or corrupted mind, if you are talking and if you are doing something, utterly you are in a miserable way. Manasache paduttena bhasativa karotiva tatonam dukkhaman veti chakkama vahato pada. Just like the cart wheel following the hoofs of the bull. So therefore that approach to the life, whether it is mundane thing or spiritual thing, whether it is a group action or in one particular person in one particular moment, you can have 2 facets. One thing is you do it very happily. We say positive thinking. Or you do it, but you are not happy. The changing, the turning point is from effort to the rapture. Even if you put forth effort, as Bhante mentioned, the initial energy and the continuous energy and the fulfilling energy. When it's happening, for my experience, the initial energy is rather sour in taste. It's very astringent, difficult. And whatever the thing you're going to start learning a piano, or learning a violin, or learning how to ride a push bike, at the beginning it's a task. But when you keep on practicing, then only you learn the art. Only for the sustenance, practical person, then it becomes something positive. So we people get together, gathered here, I think gone through the early part, the sour part, the astringent part, the bitter part. But still we have not given up. That is very encouraging. For them still we need listening. We need the investigation of Dhamma. And then we have to go to the second gear. Second gear means the sustaining energy. Keep on practicing. When we are starting a car, of course, present day it is not so obvious because of the automatic gear system. Otherwise, to start the engine, it needs so much of gasoline. And to put into the first gear, the whole chunk of iron must get the running, go into the pickup. And when with the second gear, third gear, fourth gear, for a particular amount of mileage, the number of fuel use is less because of the momentum. That is the skillness of the driving. If you are stopping again and going, start again and again, stopping and again, that's what you call lay meditation. That's the way lay people are doing. They start with the full effort and all the kinds of, then you go back home, again come back to the zero level. Again start it. So therefore it is strenuous. So that is why the Buddha developed these monastics. Male or female, he can live more in the monastic way of life, whereby he knows as a human being we have duties, we have to fulfill this and that. But you must, I wrote a book, you must be mindful and mind your business. We have completely lost our business for the benefit of the family, benefit of the country and all the kind of, ultimately you don't know what happened during your life. You have done so much of it, but for the sake of mindfulness, for the here and now, nothing. So therefore you have to take the responsibility. No one would do it. Even the Buddha himself became fully enlightened. His younger son was 7 years old. He had no any idea about monastic life. He just came to him after 7 years. That his very first birthday is the day the Prince Siddhartha Bodhisattva renounced the house, left the house. And after 7 years, when the mother says, this is your father, go and ask his properties, his wealth. So he do not know, go and tackle this in a small finger and says, I feel very comfortable at your shadow. Where is my heritage? He says, come, I will give you. Took it to the monastery. And he became, ordained him. And then 15 years, he was practicing. No any good results. Buddha is visiting morning and give a talk. Again, evening, go and talk. All the very simple instructions. So even his father was the omniscient, omnipresent, with omniscient knowledge, he has to practice. This younger son has to practice himself. And his mother, ex-wife, also practice singly, and Buddha cannot help. Only can give instructions and the inspiration. So exactly the way he treats us, give them all the instructions, but we have to practice. While practicing, whether you are doing it happily, whether you do it in the rapturous mind or not, it's a completely independent. But when you are listening more and more, you are investigating Dhamma more and more, And you have put forth effort despite all the difficulties and bitterness and the astringent nature. Slowly you can understand it. You have to pay that. You have to bear that cost. So in the Pottapada Sutta, it is in the Digha Nikaya, it's a very long sutta. The Buddha explains, while we are living in the utterly engaged in the household life, you can see whatever the investigation they have, the scientific and the infrastructure, the communication, the problems are increasing. We are living in, when compared with our parents, we are having so much of facilities and all that. But you see, number of suicides, a number of mental situation, and the warfare, nothing stops. Keep on increasing. Because people are less and less in the way of mindfulness. So therefore, some people can feel it, not the majority. Majority go along the grain, but some people go against the grain. They find that even if we achieve all the things what we wanted, still the mind is suffering. The tension is there, frustration is there. So these people find way out. Renouncing. That's the way Prince Siddhartha did it. When he was going out, there were no organized monasteries and kind of thing, but he saw one ascetic. He told, this is the way. And they were the silent revolutionary people at that society. Society was completely traditional, caste-based, and top-class people are controlling everyone. Luckily, the Bodhisattva was born into that caste, but still he found the suffering, he renounced. So we, at least for a few days, we renounced. So when we at home, we have all the facilities, amenities, by pressing a button, we can have anything. But when you come here, whatever the food they are given, you have to eat it. At home, we can add little salt, or we can add little, according to the Sri Lankan way, that we have red onion, and we have chilies, and but we have no choice. And the bellies come, you have to go and sit. If at home, you'd have to sit in a very comfortable chairs and kind of thing, but when you come here, sit on the ground. And you see other people also doing. So, the renouncing and coming into this kind of a common facilities, some people find very difficult to adopt it. Because this is not the way, which I told you at home. This is not much of princely facilities. Therefore, some people become very sad. They are not happy about, because why can't we have some more facilities here? Kind of thing. That means they are renounced. Even though they renounce, they come here and live, they are not much happily living here, because they are thinking about the past. These facilities are when compared with moderate facilities. So you have to weigh past and the future, household and here. But then the Buddha says, you feel like the renouncing feel like something you are searching for suffering, searching for the moderate facilities. And therefore, if you have that nature of understanding, I am coming here because at home I have a world full of tension and frustration and problems. But here, only the monastic full of tension, frustration we have. Something pertaining to the monastery, not the whole world, because I am renounced. Now I have to worry about the timetable here and these things. So therefore your tension, your frustration is now limited to the monastery. And when you are coming to the monastery, you have to do this work and that work. 1 hour or so you have to fulfill duties. And then imagine you come and sit. Then you can forget about the monastery, forget about the household life, the world, the village, everything. And your suffering is limited to your body. Your tension is limited to your body. Your friction is limited to your body. And then you find the body is a torturing machine, doing nothing. You just sit. But you see. So therefore, reason to be glad or reason to be worried. At home you are like a horse putting the weight, but still happy. But here doing nothing, sitting and close your eyes, sitting, keeping the hand upon one upon the other and cross-legged, and you see what the kind of thing. The positive way of thinking is you have questions, you have difficulties, but it is limited to your body. Because you are here, now I am sitting. But that enough to fulfill your whole mind. And mind is worrying as such. So therefore, you find you can't sit in a posture for a longer time. You feel like adjusting this and that. You feel like the other temperature is not comfortable and time is not comfortable. All the kind of thing. So therefore, mind find a reason to be worried if it is not well trained. So instead, the Buddha suggests, at home you have the world full of tension, world full of problems, world full of unsorted things. But when you come to the monastic, problems are there, but it limited the monastic life. Now, that is still reduce your body. This is the only time you are facing, you are met up with your here and now situation. And then you are being asked in sitting to be aware of the air element, in breath and out breath. In walking, you are dealing with the earth element, the hardness of your soul touching the earth, the ground. So when you are in sitting posture, one or the other, either earth element or air element or heat element or water element become aggravated. So then your mind is completely possessed. Whatever may be. And the Buddha is giving a kind of a hint. For example, your leg is very hard hit on the ground in sitting, but your attention is to be with the breath. Mind is not allowing. Because of this hard touch. Your aim is to be with the in-breath and out-breath. But this earth element is torturing you. So the Buddha says, when the earth element is torturing you, or where earth element is dragging your attention, never the air element give you trouble. Never the water element won't give you trouble. Heat element, because whenever the earth element become aggravated, it suppresses other all. It don't worry about the worldly affairs. It don't worry about the monastic affairs. It don't worry about the body. Body means earth. So therefore, if you keep the attention with the earth, because it became prominent by itself. And if you sharp enough and if you have the investigation mind, yes, the hardness is there. Earth element can represent hardness or softness, smoothness or roughness, heaviness or lightness. Whatever it may be, then you keep on focusing. You know all the others have been settled. Only this one is torturing or drawing the attention. And imagine while you are managing like that, at times, it comes the desired air element. You can feel in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. And you can study, you can keep the air element in face-to-face. Because that is your desired one. And occasionally it happens. then you can understand how many breath cycles I can understand, verifying it is not earth element, it is not fire element or heat, it is not liquidity, but the air element. Then your mind investigating when the air element is there in face-to-face, it's verifiably, you can discriminate it is not earth, not fire, not liquidity. That is, you have nothing to learn. That's the endowment in our life, endowment in our human mind. And if you are looking at it, you are verifying this is not other element, this is the air element. And then you know, air element can manifest in many ways, and this is the breath. That very clarity make all the other things suppressed. And the element become face-to-face. There, you first try to see, can I see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, the gushing out and gushing in, rubbing against the nostril or inside, whatever it may be. That give a challenge to your life so that your whole household problems will be null and void. Your monastic problems will be null and void. Your sitting other problems will be null and void, and your investigation, discriminative understanding and discretion is to see if the in-breath and out-breath is difference, or what are the differences. And you have to give the utmost importance for this under-the-nose experience. And that to keep that track for longer, you have to be with the breath. Be on the ball. Number of breath cycles. When it's happening, not only the difference between in-breath and out-breath, you can see in-breath to in-breath changes are happening. Out-breath to out-breath changes are happening. In Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says, at the beginning you see the long in-breath and long out-breath. Long in-breath ultimately becomes short in-breath. Long out-breath becomes short out. Likewise, the lengthwise and 11 facets are there. It's changing. At the beginning, you see the black and white difference in breath and out breath. Later, if you can keep the primary object in view, then you can see changes or impermanent nature. Always there. You have to keep the one object at a time or longer time, then only you can see them. If the objects are changing, your posture is changing, then very difficult for you to see their chronological, time-wise differences. So you have to keep the face-to-face. That's very difficult. That's the difference, the monkey mind and the disciplined mind. So that discipline also not happening 100%. Little by little you are gaining. So when and where you to keep the breath, and taking the breath as an example, and practicing, the rapture appears in 5 ways. And rapture come and second your suggestion. Yes, oh darling, you are correct. You are with the breath. But the way the rapture is verifying or seconding, still you are not familiar with that. In the commentary exegesis it says, the Kuddhika Piti, Kanika Piti, they are the early signs that mind is face-to-face with your primary object. It may be in breath and out breath, or expansion, contraction, or your sitting posture. When you are walking, it may be a left leg, right leg, whatever it may be. When it happened, you can feel here and there the pricklings can happen. And some places in your face, you see some tingling sensation can happen. Goosebumps can happen. So you never think this is a very positive sign. You never think this is a very, very seconding of my practice. Instead you feel like scratching. Instead you feel like doing these things, thinking that is distraction, thinking that's a impediment. Or sometimes you may consider it as a nissarana or hindrances. But when and where mind is focused with one particular object, kuddhika piti, khanika piti can happen. All of a sudden the body start to jerk. You can't understand what the relationship between that continuity with the primary object and bodily, these kind of small electric shocks or something like tingling sensation or benumbing can happen, and they disappear. But they appear more attractive than the breath. So if you are not aware of it, and if you have not experienced within yourself, you used to do bodily changes, even if you do no harm. But if you are doing with awareness, lesser the harm. So therefore you have to understand the rapture as a factor of enlightenment. Start with goosebumps and prickling sensation. Sometimes feel like water droplets happening, or sometimes tension, frustration, the tensing of the muscles, specifically the face muscles. Mahasi Sayadaw, he says, when and where the mind is aligned with the primary object, whatever it may be, most vulnerable area is your epidermis, your skin. Skin is the one going to give scratching and tingling and all the kind of thing, and specifically the face. Sometimes fingers and tip of the fingers, earlobes, they start to give some signals, some pricky sensations. It draw your attention, asking you to just scratch or rub it. I am not asking you to not to do it, but you have to be aware. That's a clear good sign. That's a product of mindfulness. This is not a question, but it's an answer to the mindfulness. It is catching. So when the kuddhika piti, khanika piti level is passed, you understand when they are alive, our body is witnessing it by overstimulating, sensitivity of the skin, and you have to go prepared. If you go prepared, you're better off. That preparedness is what we call your mindset. If you are not well familiar with Dhamma, if you are not investigated in a good way, and if you have not reported them in your interview reports, always they become a hindrance or difficulties. But later, slowly you understand whenever this alignment happens, the rapture appears in the quick way, and sometimes a part and parcel of the body, sometimes the whole body kind of jerks can happen. So passing that, knowing that, if you keep on continuing, keep on adhering to the timetable, then it goes to the kind of a boiling pot like. If you keep a milk pot on the fireplace, slowly here and there bubbles happen, then it slowly start boiling. In our Sri Lankan kitchens, we are boiling rice. Start with the 1 or 2 bubbles, and then slowly you can feel the whole pot is boiling. So likewise now you start to feel your whole body as a flux, as a boiling pot. But still you are keeping the track with your primary object. But if you are not investigating properly, or if you are not reporting these things properly to the teacher, always you consider the body is drawing attention away from this primary object, the element. You never consider this as a positive sign. You never consider this as a seconding of your proposal. So therefore, understanding about this factor of enlightenment. The rapture as a factor of enlightenment is you have to then and there verify. It is not in your common sense. You never been taught these things in your university lecture rooms. Never in the laboratories. Never in physics. Never in chemistry. Never in history. They are talking nonsense. They are talking about the past. Someone indicated that, and you go and they point to your head, and you remember, you get marks. You get pass. But while studying things, what happened to your body, what happened to your breath, that is a distraction for your class subject matters. So therefore, this understanding about the way the body is witnessing the rapture, at the beginning, they are not always rapturous as such. They appear like prickling sensation. They appear like itchy sensation. They appear like benumbing and releasing the pressure light. So all these things, with that, you have to put up with your mind and you have to go on continuing. And the day you learn how to report them, you will report, my body needs some scratching, body needs some rubbing, but still, while it is there, maybe while I am rubbing it or while I am scratching it, I can see I am not dead. The breath is there. Breath is happening. I am not sleeping. I am not unconscious. Even I am engaged in the make body comfort, the breath is there. Then teacher simply will ask, can you occasionally while scratching look at the breath? While you are walking, all the other sensations can happen. But you are not stopping, walking happens. Then appear like two things. One thing is you can record the birds chirping and wind movements and the cool, heat. And while they are there, still walking happens. Then appear like mindfulness is double-fold. You can see there as external distractions and your primary object as your basic task. Both are happening. Unless otherwise, your instructed mind is always concerned outside things, never the primary object. Never the mindfulness. Never the here and now. So therefore, interviews, the discussion, the dialogue, and the proper recording must be there. Then only you can understand whatever the distraction happens, breathing never stops. Whatever the distraction happens, your ability to see the breath as such, no one can stop it. Only your attention, only your list of priorities. Because the other things appear like threatening your life. So therefore mind is naturally going for the survival affair. Never the breath. So this is how these talks, these discussions, and this investigation within you is important. That cannot be compensated by book knowledge. That cannot be compensated by associating a good meditators. You have to go through the mill. And then, Kuddika Piti, Kanika Piti, then the boiling pot going to start. Some people take 35 to 45 minutes for that to happen. The whole body going to give the support. But when you keep on practicing, as a monastic life, some people by 2-3 breaths time, for a few seconds time, you can feel how these things are happening. Because you have gone through the mill. And then the Ubbega Piti, then you can feel right from the beginning, it is the boiling pot is making currents and going. It is like massaging. internal and external massaging. At the beginning, massaging is just a oil massage, internal, external, epidermis level. But later you can see the whole thing is reshuffled. So you have to, if you have any compassion to your body, let that Dhamma therapy, let that Dhamma massage to take place. Then it is giving a kind of a healing. When the Mahasi Sayadaw's tradition was there, they compiled a book, Dhamma therapy. Because different people from the different corners of the earth going to report. Some people report they had a broken leg and the doctor repaired it. And now while meditating, it is again increasing the pain. And as if it is like a freshly broken the bone line. Because it is completely re-melted and re-fixed in exactly the proper way. The wounds and sometimes psychological wounds, your past memories, childhood, adverse childhood experience, they just come. So it is very agonizing. It is very torturing. But it's a healing effect. It's a Dhamma therapy. So when the Ubbega Priti, the Dhamma is going to take responsible about, then everything, psychological wounds, they pop up. Bubbles are coming and you are looking at it. While the track of mindfulness with the breath is there, it's also occasionally getting prominent or disappearing, but still you know you can be with that, and this side, all these operations are happening. So therefore, at the beginning, sitting is happy like difficult, like crucifixion, like torturing. But later you can see it is giving a full massage, internal and external, and not only physical, even the mental situations. And as Sigmund Freud tried to attribute, whenever you have adverse childhood experience, your whole mentality is distorted. Everything you see through that agonizing memory. And you can't forgive and forget. So much of torturing, so much of the hatred is there. But now when they are happening, you have to get a little distance and see Dhamma is going to take responsibility. Let that whole wave to ceases. Just like in-breath happen, just happening, and then breath become very high and gross and rubbing, and then it disappears. Likewise, these mental or emotional waves are happening, or physical sensations are happening, and sometimes very peak, sometimes very low. They are always there. And you have to give unhindered, just natural flow to take place. The best way is to keep the track with the mindfulness, keep the track with the breath. But by that time, breath also evolved. Breath also take different shapes. Breath slowly becomes subtle. When that happens, or rather when the body is giving that kind of a witness, you can't, at the beginning you can see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. But if you keep on practicing, you can see breath, in-breath and breath appear both the same. You can't discriminate. There you may think that my mindfulness is not sharp, my concentration is not sharp. Earlier it was a black and white difference, but now both are just movements. In-breath and out-breath. And if you know how to facilitate it, not to distract it, then the both in-breath and out-breath start to get subtle, become subtlest. Breathing happens completely effortless. And consumption of oxygen is less because the body is calming down and your track is single one-track flow is there, and body also yielding into that. So less amount of oxygen. And you cannot appreciate it because you will think it is something wrong. That cannot be. And to put into samatha way of meditation, it says when you are go to the fourth jhana, no breath. In the third jhana, you are in the sukha. You are blissful situation, like when you are in a celestial being. And then breathing is taking place. There are no transaction as such. The transaction is unperceivable, so subtle. So that's the point where you give the biggest, the highest compassion to your body. Usually you are not familiar with that. You know how to torture your body. Husband is torturing wife and wife is torturing husband. That is what you call family life. And when you go to the office, boss and the subordinates always torturing each other. But when it comes to the here now I am, there are some witnessing or verifying way that things get aligned or power line aligned and the transmission happens. And ultimately the Dharana Piti, just like a whole pot is boiling and overwhelming. You see, everything is happening, no myself, no doing, no will, no volition, and things are happening. So it is, you may consider as everything out of control. That's the only way we can talk. But everything happening in a very, very comfortable, very most least frictional path. All you are in comfort zone. So you have to let it happen. So their energy, the initial energy is not necessary now. It is like a starting energy. Now car is in the top gear. Higher speed, least amount of gasoline for a particular amount of mileage. So driving is very subtle. Happening, things are happening. So this is the way the rapture as a factor of enlightenment, when it happens, you have to facilitate it. But it is not a human knowledge. It's a completely different, it's a celestial kind of, but start with the human nature, start with the Kutika and Kanika Piti, thereby scratching, tingling, all the kind of thing happen. But if you know how to facilitate it, it come up to the higher levels, and then you can see, you can experience it, but very difficult to share with others. And you feel like sharing. It's free of charge. It's a matter of aligning. It's a matter of adjusting them. The body and the mind, they have the potential. But they do not know how to get aligned. So therefore, early part of your meditative life is you are learning how to put things get into align with, and when and where the initiative is starting thing happens, you must facilitate it. Just like you are putting the baby into sleep. You have to lullaby it, and you have to shake it, and all the kind of thing. When the sleepiness sets in, you have to slowly stop all the lullabying and all the kind of thing. Otherwise, the mother will be torturing to the baby. You'll be disturbing the baby's sleep. If you keep on lullabying, even after sleeping, don't do it. So you have to understand how the body is yielding, how the mind is yielding, and there is a universal pattern. Whether you are a male or female, whatever it may be, that is how the Buddha has a medium, as a way to share with others. So, but the disadvantageous part is it is not so friendly for the beginners. Always beginners who run the higher risk and do it again and again. While doing, 99% will give up and go. They don't think this is as a good omen. They will consider it as a bad one, because whenever I am going to sit, my bodily pains are increasing. Small tickling sounds itself is irritating. Even the daydreaming is decreasing. And sound, the pain and the thoughts are increasing. But they are always there. When the mindfulness becomes sharp only, they appear very prominent. That they become prominent. It is not a distraction for mindfulness. It's not a question for mindfulness. It's an answer to the mindfulness. So this is the way you put correct way. Then the Buddha says you give up your day-to-day whole tension and frustration, the whole world, for the sake of the monastic life. And then whole monastic life and the whole world, you give up by reducing into the body. And then body becomes very agitated. Body becomes very, very conspicuous. And then body becomes breath body. And then breath body becomes gross at the beginning, and then the subtle, and then becomes subtlest. And then you can't find who am I? Where am I? Because breath is not there. So psychologically you are being threatened now. So things are happening, and when it happens, in order to facilitate it, you have to let it happen, let the Dhamma to take place. So this is the part where Samatha and Vipassana is changing. Samatha, always you have to do something. It is something conventional thing. You keep on reflecting of the virtues of the Buddha or loving kindness, whatever it may be, but never let it happen. It's not at the fourth jhana. But in Vipassana, you learn the art. At the beginning, you have to give you remember the early stages of the cars, you have to start with the crank. And then once the engine is started, only you can climb it and run. So you have to give a crank, the power, the momentum. So likewise, when it is running, you slowly let the Dhamma to work. And for that, you have to have investigating mind. You have to have the understanding of Dhamma. And then slowly facilitating it to just it happen. Each and every time, when the effortless things are happening, your egocentric idea, your limits, this is me and this is not me, the boundary becoming meaningless. When you are very gross, when you are very full of defilements, me and not me is very sharp. That is why people go for warfare. This is my country, this is your country. But when the breath becomes subtle and subtlest, you lose the boundaries. Even if you consider, where am I? Who am I? You are just like a cloud, no particular shape, and it's floating. You can't find the center. Things are happening in the nature. So when that happened, you merge. You merge with the other aspects of the life, and path becomes frictionless. So earlier before start mindfulness and kindness, then I told they are just mystics and they are written in the book, and that I thought it cannot be. I thought it is some people born for that kind of thing. I am not that. There's something mystical. It is not scientific. But when you are practicing, the scientific part and the mystics part, they merge each other for the benefit of you. So now in America, they learn the mind science, they coined the term mind science. Earlier the science means physics, physical. Mind is to the church. Now they cross the border, E is equal to mc square, energy and the matter, they found the similarity. They find the equation. Energy means no specific gravity, no locality, non-local. When the matter happens, from the energy to matter, specific gravity is there, locality is there. So they, at the beginning, they completely consider two things as separate. But during our generation, they started. So then the scientific part and the mystic part, or the religious part, now they are practicing. And they see when this kind of factor of enlightenment going to come into being, your brain is your cell, your chromosomes adjusting slowly. That evolution stops. People are thinking they are evolving. There's no evolution. This evolution is happening here and now. I am this. And when it is happening, you don't know how to monitor it because that the ancient knowledge lost. But when you are practicing, your investigating mind, the investigating aspect is asking you, accept everything as it is, choicelessly. Be aware. You have to have an evenly suspended attention and suspended decision. Don't rush. Decision and tension or judgment is ego. You become very arrogant. You want to quickly go into a decision. Of course, you are the person suffer. But even without any decision, with you accepting karma theory or not, no harm. You can just keep it. Because the breath is happening. You can keep the track with the breath. So likewise, when it is continuing, you are exploring into unopened areas, vast area. Or some people say that then only you are using your brain whole, full 100%. Otherwise, you are using only 2% or less. Other areas you never open. It is unconventional. But in the rapture as this thing, that is the third aspect of the positive side, investigation, energy and the rapture appear like energizing factors. And once you learn, your rapture, your happiness is not depending on the luxurious things. It is not what you earn. It's how to deal with the breath. It's a birthright. But you have so far, you have completely ignored it. But you know how to make the breath as your most precious wealth you have. And you see right from the beginning how the breath starts, and then how it becomes perceivable, and how it rubbing, and then how it disappears. So within one breath, whole cycle is there. But without a refined mind, you can't observe it. But with the rapture and all the qualities, if you start to see the breath, starting with nothing and end up with nothing. In middle only the drama. So therefore don't worry about the drama, see the beginning and the end. And that is the challenge I am leaving at the end of my talk for you with the knowledge. Please explore into and let that rapture to happen and massage yourself and give a Dhamma therapy. Thank you very much for listening.